Hello friends, today I have a Christmas doll for you. I was making this doll for a different project, and after I finished her hair and her face up, I realised she looked kind of Grinchy, so I wanted to give her a Grinch makeover. I'm not American, so I didn't grow up with the cartoon The Grinch. My introduction was with the Jim Carrey movie, which I absolutely loved. I always found it really random that he wore lederhosen, so I decided to give my doll kind of like the femme version of lederhosen, so we're going to give her a dirndl, or a dress loosely inspired by a dirndl. Before we start, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It really gives me a boost in the algorithm and I really appreciate it. This doll was already prepped when I bought her. I'm using a Draculaura for this. I decided to reroute her with gooseberry nylon from the Doll Hair Emporium. I'm painting the doll's head with 2 layers of acrylic paint that will match the doll's hair. This is just in case any of the scalp shows through between the hair plugs. It just makes the hair look a bit more full. I want the hair to be about boob length, so I've cut the fibre down so I'm not using the full length of the hair. I used 1.5 packs from Doll Hair Emporium to do this. I'm going around the hairline first, filling in those plugs, then filling in the gap in between. Finally, I'm doing the parting. The parting always takes a lot more hair than you think it will. I use Fabri-Tac to glue this. I use Fabri-Tac and PVA interchangeably. The benefit with Fabri-Tac is that the tackiness is gone within seconds. I had a bit of an issue with some PVA on a doll that I've done recently, which I will show you when I put that video together. I'm using the Q-tip to try and get that glue to touch all of the hair plugs inside the head, and I'm squishing her head around as well just to make sure that the glue's really tangling that hair up in there. I covered her hair with a rag, and then I gave her 3 coats of Mr. Super Clear, waiting 30 minutes between each coat to make sure that it's dry. This is going to give us some tooth so that we're able to draw on the doll. I tend to start my face-ups with the eyes. I'll draw the inner corners and the outer corners first and then join those up. I usually work in a colour a bit darker than the doll's skin tone, so I'm working with a pink doll, I'm using pink here. I then draw the waterline, and usually I'll put the eyebrows in with pastel, but I just couldn't get pastel to take on this doll, so I decided to put her brows in with pencil. I think this is what made her look Grinchy, because her eyebrows looked mega full. I'm shading her with pink, and because I used pink in the shading, I decided not to give her like traditional blush on the high points of her cheeks, just the pink of the shading. The brush I'm using is a makeup brush. That blue thing is an eyelash extension applicator, super useful for getting into tiny crevices and for adding more pigment where you need it. I'm then taking off the blush where I don't want it with a kneaded eraser and blending that in further with a Q-tip. I'm filling in the whites of the eyes because I want quite a light eye colour here, otherwise I would have started drawing in her eye colour, and then I'm defining the nostrils, and because she's going to have a red lip, I'm drawing that in now, starting with the Cupid's bow and then outlining the lips and then filling those lips in. Defining the nostrils, and then that's our first layer done, and I sprayed with Mr. Super Clear. So for the second layer, I'm deepening and adding detail. I'm adding the eyelid here We've worked really hard on the first layer to make sure everything is where we want it, so the second layer we're just going in and deepening things. I lost a little bit of footage. I deepened the lash line and I'm again deepening the lip colour. I also add a gradient to the eyes here. I don't do flat white for the sclera. I like to add grey around the edges. I added the irises and now I'm adding darker colour to the top of the irises and lightening the bottom. I like to add a white highlight around the inner corner of the doll's eyes. I find this makes the eyes look a lot more 3D, and I tend to highlight down the doll's nose as well. Again, just deepening those lines there. I'm using a stump to blend, and then I'm using a darker green colour to add some hairs to the eyebrows. I'm still working on my eyebrows. I found don't do too much. When I've been trying to figure out my style, I think I've found that I don't want too much in terms of eyelashes. So for the bottom eyelashes, I do some quite faint feathery lines. I'm then going in and deepening just the base of those. I'm also adding a little bit more to the gradient of the eye and defining the sclera with a dark grey, and then I'm spraying with Mr. Super Clear again. That's our second layer done. I'm adding more highlights on this third layer. I did a really small layer here because I wanted to add lashes. Lashes are such a challenge for me. I still tend to do them on their own layer. So I'm starting them in burgundy and doing some wispy lines. I'm then thickening the bottom of those lines. And then I tend to add a little bit of black at the very base of the lashes and through the lash line a little bit. Again, brightening the highlights. And then just adding a dot in each eye for the catch lights, a little highlight at the bottom of the iris, and that's the face up done. The dress is an adapted pattern from a skirt that I've been working on recently, which I will release. The waistband is basically all you need for the skirt, and then you can kind of manipulate it to your will, really. As usual, I'm gluing around the pieces. I made a really simple pattern for the top of the bodice. And then I'm making some long strips that are going to be straps for our dress. I've found that lining dresses is a really good way to get a clean neckline, so I'm putting the straps in facing downwards so that when I bag line it, it'll pull out and they'll be in the right position. Again, to get a good clean seam, I'm using a lining, so I'm sewing two of the same piece together to make our waistband, trimming the excess and then ironing that open, and then I'm adding just a big gathered rectangle to make the skirt. Again, trimming down that seam allowance. Then I'm folding the waistband along its seam and sewing either end and then bagging that out again, so that'll give us a nice clean waistline. I'm then folding down the back of the skirt in line with that corner and then sewing that to give us a good overlap in the back. I sewed the top to the skirt. I put it on the doll to make sure it was in the right position. Then, using some rectangles of white fabric that I've fray checked, I made kind of a bow that I'm going to glue in between the straps to kind of make the undershirt. I took more of those rectangles of glued fabric, made a tube with gathering at either end, and then pulled that tight to make like poofy little sleeves, and then I sewed those to the dress. I added some stitching detail to the dress, but it didn't feel like enough, so I used my Cricut to make these gold little vinyl silhouette and iron them around the edge of the dress. I added some gold to the top as well, and then I sewed this little gingham apron to the dress. I'm finishing the apron with a few more strips of gingham to look like the apron ties and like a little ribbon. I added more white fabric to the top as a ruffle, and I used some gold metallic embroidery thread to add the lacing to the front of the dress. I also added some Velcro in the back as a closure, and that is the dress done. When the Grinch is wearing his lederhosen, it's for a party, right? And Max is Rudolph, so I thought I'd kind of combine the party element and the Rudolph element and make her like the party headbands that you get at Christmas. I always have the reindeer one anyway, and I thought I think it's cute, so I cut these shapes with my Cricut, and then I'm just gluing them into ear shapes. In a second you'll see me gluing a pin and the antler part to it, but in the meantime I'm just making a red bow. I like hair bows basically, embracing my inner JoJo Siwa. I used a little bit of pan pastel to shade the inside of the ear. I also have a tiny little red hair clip which I think will look really cute in her hair. So these are her hair accessories. For shoes, I'm repurposing these Abby shoes. The soles are perfect to go with the outfit, and I just made some giant bows to go on the front. I used to have a pair of party shoes with massive bows on and I miss them, so I'm living vicariously through this doll. And these are her shoes. I think they're super cute considering I just whacked a bow on the front. I think they turned out pretty well. And then I put her together. I do realise that the Grinch is green all over. I don't know why that like completely slipped my mind until quite a bit later, but I'm really happy with how everything turned out. Yeah, kind of surprised. I've not been feeling very festive this year at all, and kind of this was a way to try and get me into the festive mood a bit, and it really worked. Just the colour palette, and I painted my nails red especially, like that's really helped actually. I had some issues with the antlers when I was putting them on, so rather than being able to pin them and then hold, I had to kind of pin through the ears, but then they did hold well. So what do you think to her Grinchy makeover? Let me know in the comments what you're doing for the holidays, what you're hoping to receive from Santa, or your favourite holiday tradition. Thank you so much for watching. As always, thanks to my wonderful patrons, with a special shout out to Camilla. You're all incredible. Thank you so much for your support, especially your support recently. It really means the world to me. If you'd like to become a patron, there's links down below. Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube goodness. Happy holidays. I hope you're all doing good. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Sir? Excuse me, sir. What are you doing? I love you.